Let's be clear from the start. You have been running from loneliness your entire life. You're terrified of it. You deny it, but you know it's true. You filled every empty space with noise, distractions, forced conversations, and superficial connections. You've run towards the bustle to escape from yourself, as if silence were an enemy you need to keep at bay. But what if I told you that the silence you avoid so much is, in fact, the only door to your freedom? They have sold you the idea that being alone is synonymous with social failure. That if you are not surrounded by people, something is wrong with you. But think, how many times, surrounded by crowds, have you felt lonelier than ever? How many times, amidst the noise, have you felt that deep emptiness, that brutal disconnection with your own existence? Chosen solitude is a silent rebellion against a world that fears looking inward. It's an act of radical courage. When you choose solitude, you're not running away from life. You're diving into its depths. You're shedding the masks, the external expectations, the voices that do not belong to you. Finally, you can hear your own. No one tells you this, but the greatest discovery you will make in this life is not out there. It's not in books or in conversations or in well-meaning advice. It's inside of you. In those raw moments of silence, when distractions fade and you are left alone with your most uncomfortable thoughts. That's where true alchemy begins. Psychology has shown it over and over. The mind needs spaces of stillness to process, to heal, to create. When you surrender to solitude, you activate the deepest mechanisms of your brain. Creativity flourishes. Solutions that once seemed impossible emerge as flashes of clarity. But here comes the part that no one tells you. Before that clarity, the storm arrives. At first, solitude hurts. It's like a brutal detox from social dependency. You feel the discomfort, the mental itch of being with yourself with no escape. And it's precisely there where the gold lies. The more you resist solitude, the more you depend on others to validate your existence. But when you embrace it, when you invite it into your life like an old friend who has come to tell you forgotten secrets, you discover something unsettling. You don't need anyone to be whole. I repeat, you don't need anyone. The emotional freedom born from solitude is brutally transformative. You stop seeking external approval because you no longer need it. You stop fearing rejection because you've learned to accept yourself with all your light and your shadows. And when that happens, authenticity becomes your greatest ally. Few people understand this because most are trapped in the trap of recognition. But you will no longer be one of them. No more. Because in chosen solitude, you discover that the chains that bind you are actually threads of smoke. They dissolve as soon as you stop fearing them. And as you walk down this silent path, something magical happens. Your vision of life completely changes. The social expectations that once kept you awake at night become irrelevant. The pressure to fit in fades like mist in the sun. Because you finally understand that you didn't come into this world to meet the expectations of others, but to discover what truly burns inside of you. That inner fire, which until now had been smothered by external noise, begins to grow. It drives you, awakens you, transforms you. And it is in that awakening where you find true creativity. Ideas flow with a clarity that was previously unknown to you, because they are no longer contaminated by others' opinions. Voluntary solitude is the matrix of personal innovation. The great thinkers of history knew this. There is no genius that hasn't been born from introspection. There is no revolution that hasn't been gestated in the calm of the mind that dares to think differently. But here comes what makes the difference. It's not just thinking, it's daring to listen to yourself without filters. It's having the courage to face your own inner demons without anesthesia. Because in solitude, there is no room for the lies you've told yourself all your life. They fall one by one, exposing the naked truth of who you really are. That truth may make you uncomfortable, yes. It may hurt more than any external judgment. But it is also the key that opens all the doors. Once you find it, there is no turning back. You begin to live from a place of authentic power, not borrowed power. And that, my friend, is what makes you unstoppable. Because true connection with others does not come from need, but from internal abundance. When you are enough for yourself, your relationships radically change. They stop being desperate transactions for affection and transform into genuine encounters of souls who choose to walk together without dependency. Chosen solitude does not isolate you from the world. It prepares you to truly love it. It trains you to see clearly, to listen without filters, to love without conditions, and above all, to create from the deepest part of your essence. It's a brutal paradox. By distancing yourself from the noise, you connect more intensely with life. By retreating into silence, you hear the purest beats of your existence. By closing the door to the outside world, you open the windows to your inner world. And it's then that you realize that chosen solitude is a privilege, not a punishment. It's a sanctuary where you rebuild yourself piece by piece, without haste, without pressure, without masks. It's the sacred space where the most authentic version of you begins to emerge, powerful and unapologetic. Stop deceiving yourself. The true trap is not in solitude, but in dependency. The true prison is not silence, but the constant noise that prevents you from listening to yourself. The true threat is not being alone, but living surrounded by people who add nothing to your life. Today, I invite you to change the narrative, to stop seeing loneliness as an enemy, and start seeing it as your most loyal ally on your path to fulfillment. You don't need noise to feel alive. You don't need a crowd to validate your existence. All you need is the courage to sit with yourself and start listening to the truth that lies within you. And when you do, when you finally embrace solitude as the door to your freedom, you will discover something that will change your life forever. You were never alone. You were always with yourself. And that is more than enough. Because in the echo of your own silence, you will find the answers that the noise of the world always denied you. And when that happens, solitude will no longer be a place to fear, but a home you will always want to return to. And now that you've understood that solitude is a refuge and not a punishment, let's go even further. Because there's a dimension of solitude that almost no one dares to explore. Solitude as a training ground for autonomous thinking. Yes, it's not just a space to listen to yourself, but fertile ground for building your own ideas, free from the mental contamination you drag from the outside world. Think about it. Your whole life you've been fed with others' opinions. Since you were young, you absorbed beliefs, customs, expectations that weren't yours. You grew up in a borrowed mental structure. You were taught what you should desire, what you should fear, what paths are safe, and which ones are dangerous. But did you ever stop to truly question it? Solitude offers you the brutal opportunity to dismantle those inherited ideas. When you're alone, without the external voices pulling you like an invisible current, you can finally hear the only voice that really matters. Yours. And I'm not talking about the voice that repeats the discourses you've learned, but that other voice, hidden beneath layers of social conditioning, that tells you what you truly want, what you really think about the world. In solitude, you finally begin to be the architect of your own thinking. This is where true mental alchemy happens. Solitude, that chosen state of isolation, allows you to distinguish between what you've been programmed to think and what you, with brutal honesty, truly think. And this difference, although it seems subtle, changes everything. When you depend on the crowd, your thoughts are reactive. You respond to what others say, to the expectations of your environment. But when you choose solitude, your thoughts become proactive. You stop reacting and start creating. And this mental shift not only frees your mind, but opens a universe of possibilities you never would have imagined trapped in social noise. In fact, here's the true silent revolution. When you think for yourself, you start living for yourself. The decisions that once seemed impossible to make now become clear. The doubts that paralyzed you lose their power. Because you no longer consult the masses to know if a path is correct, you decide it yourself, with the unquestionable authority that comes from deep reflection. And believe me, there is no greater power in this world than the conviction forged in the intimacy of your own mind. But there's something even deeper. Chosen solitude is also a ruthless mirror that forces you to confront your existential fears. Not those superficial fears you use to distract yourself, but the real ones. The fear of not being enough, the fear of failing miserably, the fear of leaving no mark. Solitude brings them to light, strips them bare, and forces you to face them head-on. Does it hurt? Of course it does. It's a necessary pain, like the muscle tearing to grow stronger. But in that brutal process of confrontation, you heal. You stop being a slave to those hidden fears, and you become their master. And this is the point where solitude transcends simple introspection and becomes a forge of unbreakable identity. Because only when you face your demons in silence, without witnesses, without masks, without escape, can you look the world in the eye without looking away. Now let's go even deeper. Solitude also allows you to explore a concept you rarely dare to touch: cosmic insignificance. Yes, that uncomfortable truth that in the grand scheme of the universe, we are a microscopic particle floating in the vastness of time and space. It may seem terrifying, but it is, in fact, liberating. In solitude, you understand that your mistakes are not universal catastrophes, that your achievements, as great as they may be, do not define the totality of your existence. This understanding removes a weight you never knew you were carrying. The absurd pressure of trying to make everything you do have grand meaning. Solitude teaches you to enjoy the simple fact of existing without needing to justify your presence in the world. And, paradoxically, by accepting your insignificance, you become immense inside. You free yourself from the fear of failing, because you understand that, in the end, life is not an exam with invisible judges, but an experience to be lived fully, without the burden of impossible expectations. But we're not stopping here, because there's an even deeper, almost forbidden secret revealed in the darkest moments of solitude: communion with time. Time, when you're surrounded by noise, seems like a tyrant. It chases you, it tightens, it accelerates you. But in chosen solitude, time changes texture. It expands, it becomes malleable. You realize that it's not time that consumes you, but you who waste it by filling every second with empty activities. In solitude, you reclaim ownership of your hours. Time becomes a silent ally that allows you to build at your own pace, away from the tyranny of immediacy that devours everything outside. Do you see where I'm taking you? I'm taking you to a place where you finally understand that solitude is not a prison, but a workshop. It's not a punishment, but an opportunity. It's not an emptiness, but a fullness you can only experience when you detach from the need to be observed, approved, or validated by others. And from this place, I assure you that your vision of life will change forever. You will learn to love the slowness of reflection, to savor the depth of uninterrupted thoughts, to value the quality of the few authentic relationships above the quantity of superficial connections. Solitude, when embraced with courage, gives you back control over the only life you have. So I ask you, how many more days will you let the fear of silence rob you of the opportunity to listen to yourself? How many more hours will you waste on conversations that don't fulfill you, in company that doesn't understand you, in noises that only seek to anesthetize you? The answer doesn't need to be immediate, but when it comes, let it be yours, not others, not external voices, only yours. Because in the echo of solitude, there's only one voice that matters. Yours. But wait. Don't leave just yet, because now comes the most brutal part of all. What you're about to hear is something very few come to understand, and it's exactly what separates those who survive from those who truly live. There is a power hidden in solitude that no one told you about, because it's so uncomfortable that it scares. Solitude teaches you to embrace emptiness without trying to fill it immediately. You train yourself to endure the absence of stimuli, the lack of instant gratification, the discomfort of not having quick answers. And in that emptiness, far from the cheap dopamine the world offers you every second, you find something much deeper: mental resilience. Listen closely. Whoever endures solitude endures life entirely. Whoever is not afraid to be alone is not afraid to lose everything, because they have already lost it voluntarily and have discovered that they remain whole. This is the core of true psychological strength. It's not the absence of fear, it's the ability to face them head-on, without distractions, without anesthesia, without needing anyone else to carry them for you. And here comes the twist you never expected. The more comfortable you become with your own company, the more magnetic you become to others. The paradox is wild. When you stop needing approval, people start seeking yours. When you stop shouting to be heard, others begin leaning into your silence, wondering what you know that they don't. Solitude turns you, without you realizing it, into that silent magnet that doesn't need to boast. Because everyone, absolutely everyone, secretly yearns for that inner peace you, from solitude, have already conquered. And I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about a confidence that can't be seen but can be felt, that doesn't proclaim itself, but is perceived in every gesture, in every glance, in every decision you make without hesitation. It's the serenity of someone who has walked through the darkest hallways of their mind and emerged from the other side with fire in their eyes. So listen carefully to this. The next time silence envelops you, don't run away. Don't seek noise. Don't open the app. Don't call anyone. Don't fill the gap. Stay there. Stay in that uncomfortable space a little longer, because every second you resist, every moment you don't give in to the need to escape, you're becoming stronger than most. That's the true training. Not empty motivational talks, not gurus promising magical formulas. True transformation happens in the silence of your own mind, when you stop fearing the echo of your thoughts and start listening to them with respect. And here's my challenge to you. Yes, to you who have made it to this point in the video. For the next 24 hours, give yourself at least 30 minutes of complete solitude. No phone, no music, no screens, just you and your thoughts. 30 minutes of brutal discomfort, 30 minutes of authentic encounter with yourself. I warn you, it will be uncomfortable, perhaps even unbearable, but it will also be the first step towards the most powerful version of yourself. And then, when you're done, return to this video and tell me about it in the comments. Write a single phrase. I've listened to my true echo. That's when I'll know you're not like the others, that you don't run away, that you dare to look inside. Before you leave, subscribe. Not to inflate numbers, not to feed empty algorithms, but to keep walking together on this uncomfortable path. Yes, but absolutely necessary towards mental and emotional autonomy. Because I promise you something. This journey has just begun. You won't find easy answers here. We'll explore the questions that really matter. The ones others are afraid to ask. The ones others prefer to ignore. So subscribe and hit the bell, not so I can chase you, but so you don't miss a single step of this brutally honest journey to your own freedom. Because if you've come this far, it's no coincidence. It's because something inside of you knows it's time to break the invisible chains that bind you. And now, to close this circle of fire, I want to leave you with an image you won't be able to get out of your head. Imagine for a moment that the whole world falls silent, that the external voices fade away, that expectations vanish, that the criticism and applause turn into a distant echo. Imagine that absolute silence. Do you know what's left? It's you, just you. And if, in that instant, you feel peace, then you will have understood everything this video was trying to tell you. See you in the next video. But remember, if you forget me, it's okay. Because I didn't come here for you to remember me, but to remind you who you are. I disappear. For now. But you stay with the flame burning.